Hello everyone, welcome to a new Python tutorial video. And in this video we're going to solve a new palindrome problem. That is, we have to take an input from the user and then we have to create a palindrome triangle tree using a function. So if you see the examples, you can see here the input is given 3 and then we have created a palindrome tree. Palindrome tree, we know what is a palindrome. For palindrome it is if the number, if the forward or the initial string is equal to its reverse order. If both of the strings are same, then we know it is called a palindrome. Now we have to create a palindrome triangle. So in this case, what will be? There will be a first letter and then there will be other two letters and there will be more. In this case, I get 1 2 3 and then 1 2 3. Both the original order and the reverse order are same. So in this case, this is a palindrome and I have created a triangle of it. So let's first try to visualize on how we can do this problem. So according to the question, we have understand that my program will start from first value, then other twos and other twos until I have gotten all of the letters. So let me just visualize on how the process we can approach. Let's create a function. Let's a pseudocode type def palindrome. Here let's have taken the x parameter and in the lower side we have taken let's x equal to 5 right here, x equal to 5. Okay, let's just write 3 here for the basic, x equal to 3. Okay, now what we have to do is that we know the triangle is like, say for 1 2 3 it is 1 1 2 3, sorry, this again 1, and for the third it is 3 1 and 1. Palindrome triangle for 1 2 for 3. Okay, so I can see here that initially I need how many lines? For input 3 I need 3 lines, 1 then 2 then 3, and I need how many digits? I have to say that in per line I need 1 digit, then it increased by 2, say 1 digit, then 3 digit, and then it is 5 digit. So every time my line increases, my digit increases by 2. Okay, also another thing I have to notice is that for the first time how many spaces are there. Like for the first digit we're going to see, like if we watch the last example, my first digit is here, so there are 1 and another one, so there are 2 spaces for the first line. In the next line there is 1 space, and in the last line there are no spaces initially before the first term. So these are the few things I have to look into before solving my problem. So let's write a pseudocode here, try to visualize. So initially let me take a digit, that is the digit will be 1. Like how many now, let's say number of digit, actually number of digit, let's say it is 1. Then what we have to do, we are taking number of space. Number of space is what? Number of space will be x minus 1, because we know for the first line the number of space is x minus 1. If it is 3, then number of spaces will be 2. We have tried to see in here. Okay, then what we're going to do, we're going to take a for loop. Why we're going to take a for loop, let's see. Say for line in range 1 comma x plus 1. Now what we're going to trying to do here, let's take a new value equal to 0. Okay, initially my value, that is the value I am going to print in the triangle, is 0. Now I am going to do what? I am going to print the number of spaces that is needed for the first line. We know we have already declared that the number of spaces, let me just write here, for the first line it will be 3 minus 1 equal to 2. For the first line it is 2. So now I have to print those spaces actually. So let me just write here, for j in range 1 comma space plus 1. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to print the number of spaces. Print space comma, and these spaces will be side by side. Up to this, now what we have done, let's try to visualize. What we have done is we are creating, for now we have created a space. We have created two spaces for the first line, L equal to 1, let's say. For the first line I have created two spaces. Now I have to print the values. I have already printed the spaces. Now I have to print the value. So for value, what I have to do, another loop, number of digit plus 1. What we are going to try here, that is if my j less equal to I. What you're trying to do here, I'm going to check, sorry, it's not I, it's lines. Okay, so if the value of the j is less than lines, then why I'm doing, I will explain, but let me just write here, you can understand it. I know my value initially it is 0. I can see here initially it is 0. Now I have to increase it. I have to increase by what? Value plus 1. Because in here I know what is the value of my line. My value of line is initially 1. Because in this here I can see my value of line is 1. So when I came here, I can see the value of the j is less equal to line. It is not 0. The value is not smaller than line, but it is equal to line. That's why I'm incrementing by 1. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to give an else condition because I will need it. Why I need it I will explain later. Let's give an else condition, and here value equal to value minus 1. Now what I have to do, I have to print the value. I have incremented by value. I have gotten a value actually for the first line. Now I have to print it. So I will just, as usual, I will print it inside the for loop. I will print, okay, print the value, and since this will be side by side printed, I am giving this condition. Now I have to, now let's just visualize up until now what we have been able to achieve. Until this point we have done two things. For the first line I have printed two spaces, as you can see here, and for this part actually, for this part what we have done, we have gotten value and we are plotting in here. Now what we have to do, we need a new line. So for new line I'm going to print again, and this will be outside of the for loop. Okay, so initially as you can see that my range started from 1 and up to the number of digit plus 1. I have declared what is my number of digit. My number of digit is initially 1. So this loop will run only for one time. So after one time I know I have gotten my value. My gotten value was 1, and then I need a new line actually. That's why I have printed here. Now what we know about, now let's come here. What we have know, we know that in my second line of the pyramid triangle I need one space and there will be two new digits added. Initially I have the number of digit was 1. In the second line I got two new digits along with the one digit. Also my space has been decreased by 1. So what we can understand from here, we can understand that when I go to the second line, my space is decreasing by 2, sorry, decreasing by 1, and my digit is increasing by 2, right? So let me just do the same thing below, because up until now what we have done here, we have created for the first line up to this part we have completed. Okay, now what I have to do for the second line, I have to increase the number of digit. Let's say number of digit equal to plus 2 and number of space equal to minus 1. Yes, you can understand. Number of space is minus 1. So have you understand actually the pseudocode here, that actually what we are trying to do? Let me do a quick recap here so that you can understand again. So we know initially what we're going to do is we're taking a number palindrome and we're declaring the number of digit is 1 for the first line. Number of space for the first line is x minus 1. So that is, if the value is 3, then for the first line there will be 2 spaces. For lines in range 1 comma x plus 1, that is, how many lines will be there? There will be 3 lines. For this I am giving a loop condition 1 plus x plus 1, that is x is 3, x plus 1 is 4. So and before 4 it will run. Okay, you know the for loop, I guess. I am declaring the value initially 0 because I don't know what is the value. For j in range 1 comma space plus 1, I am printing the spaces. How many spaces I need for the first line? For the first line I need x minus 1 spaces. So for the first line I know it is 3, there will be 2 spaces. So I am printing those 2 spaces. I am printing for the first line 2 spaces. Now I need to print the value. Now for the value, what I have written here, for j in range 1 comma number of digit plus 1. So my j is, I'm checking a condition. If j less equal to lines, I know it is equal, it is not less, but it is equal to line. That's why I am increasing my value to plus 1. Since I am increasing the value to plus 1, I get a new value, that is 1. Now I have to print the value, so I printed the value. Now I will again check the loop. Now is this loop working? I know the value of j right now is 2, but the number of digit is not. So it is number of digit is 1, and since this condition is not fulfilling, I have already reached the limit. For I in range 1 comma number of digit, I have already reached the limit. So this loop condition will not work, so I will print a new line. For the new line I printed just a random print. Now I have to take the second, for the second line we have seen from the table or for the rectangle figure diagram, that is, for the second line the number of digit increases by 2 every time, and for every number of increase of lines the number of spaces is decreasing one by one. So that's why I have added plus 2 here, and I have decreases the number of spaces by 1. Okay, and finally for this we get this output. Now you might ask, what will be the second one? What will be for the next line? What will be the value? So let's try to visualize for the next line what will be the value. So we know our this loop hasn't been ended. Okay, so this loop is still working. This is the main loop, it's still working. Initially the number of line was 1, now this loop will again work. So all the codes we have written here are all under this one loop. So let me just try increase its parameter. Okay, so everything we have written all are under this loop, this for loop. Therefore let's come here where we are seeing now L number of lines is 2. Okay, what we are saying here, the value is 0. Okay, my again value is 0 for j in range 1 comma space plus 1. Okay, what we have done in the first loop, we have seen the number of space initially was 2, then we have decreased it by minus 1. Now the number of space in here, it is how many? It is now 2 minus 1. Therefore it is 1 number of space, and number of digit after we incremented number of digit, how many was it was? It was initially 1, 1 plus 2, and thus we get 3. Okay, so our number of spaces right now 1, 1 plus 1, that is up to how many times it will work. So this loop will run for only one time, because we know that initially our value is 1 and time of loop it will work is also 1. So in this way I have gotten 1 spaces. Since I got 1 space for the second line, let me just write it. I got 1 space here. Okay, for j in range 1 comma number of digit plus 1, what we have gotten, the number of digit is what? Number of digit currently is 3. 3 plus 1, the loop will, that means the loop will just run for 3 times. Okay, our j value is currently 1. 1 less than lines. What is the value of lines? Line is 2. Since this is true, then our value will increase. Our value is 0. 0 plus 1 equal to 1. What are we going to do? We are going to print this. Okay, let's go. Let's come up over here and let's print this. Our this loop hasn't ended. Okay, so first loop has gone. Now the loop will again run second time. Second time, what we're saying here, what is the value of j? Value of j is now 2. And what is the value of line? Line is still 2. It is equal. Since it is equal, my current value right now will be 1 plus 1 equal to 2. And since it is 2, I am going to print it. Where I am going to print it? I am going to print it here. Let me just write here. I have written here 2. Okay. This loop will again end after this is second iteration complete. Now the third iteration will come. Now is the time. Now what I get it? In the third iteration, I have seen my j value is 3, but my lines value is 2. This condition is not fulfilling. So what I will go to else condition. Now, after coming into else condition, what I am going to see? I see the value minus 1. So what is my value? Value is 2, but I am decreasing it. Since I am decreasing it, I am decreasing by 1. So current value is 1. Therefore, when I print it, I will find here 1. And then my iteration. Thus my third iteration has been completed. I will come here and print a new line. After printing new line, let's say this will give a break actually. A new line will be created. Let's say break. And then now I am increasing the number of digit. Initially it was 3. Now I am increasing 2 equal to 5. And I am decreasing the value number of spaces. Initially it was 1. Now it is 0. So I hope you have understand the code for the second line. In this way we are going to do for the third line. You might have some problems as I have written here. So let me just write a code again in good way, and then I will explain again, give a summary. Hopefully you will understand by now. So let me just write here. Okay, so initially number of digit it is 1, then number of space equal to x minus 1, then a for loop for I in range. What will be a range? 1 comma x plus 1. Let me just not write I, let me just write lines. It will be better to understand. Let me write values. Values equal to 0. We know that our initial value was 0. Another for loop for I. Let's say for j. For j in range 1 comma space. Number of space plus 1. We're going to print the spaces. Now what we have to do, since we have already printed the number of spaces before the first term for the first line, now we have to print the value. Which will be the value? Let's write for j in range 1 comma number of digit plus 1. Now I'm checking if j less equal to lines. We know I have used these conditions. Now values equal to values plus 1, else my values will be decreased. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to print the value. Print value comma end. After this loop, what we're going to do, we're going to print for the next line. For the next line, that is print this one. In this way, we're going to create a new line. Now after a new line is created, what we have to do, we have to increase the number of digit and also we have to decrease the number of spaces, like we have seen here. Number of digit plus 2, number of space equal to number of space minus 1. Great, and this will be all. Now we are going to call our function show palindrome and we are going to say 3. Now let's say, is it working or not? For 1 to 3, 1 to 3, 1 to 3. I hope you understand the pseudocode behind this code or the logics what we have done here. I hope this video was understandable to you. If you have still kind of confusion, let's try to watch the video 1 or twice. I hope you will understand it. If you still have any kind of problem, comment down below or email me. If you like the video, do like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.